Castillo de San Marcos, Fort Marion, Civil War, National Park Service logo, a corner tower of the Castillo, Mike Evans, Park Ranger.
Florida seceded from the Union January 10, 1861.
Florida's Ordinance of Succession.
She was the third state to do so. In fact, the folks from Washington City call Florida the smallest tadpole in the dirty pool of secession. The Florida militia showed up 7 days early to the garrison there at St. Augustine of Fort Marion.
Locks on the main gate of the Castillo.
The local militia captain banged on the door and ordered the fort to surrender, or they would storm it. Fortunately for the volunteers, there was nobody home except one sergeant, Ordnance Sergeant Douglas. He was regular Army, as regular Armies could be, and he said, "Listen here, fellas, instead of having violence and bloodshed, if you will check my inventory and sign a receipt for the fort, I will give you the keys."
An illustration of Sergeant Douglas handing a ring of keys to the militia and holding the signed receipt behind his back.
But you notice he had to have that paperwork done first before he surrendered the fort. The Florida militia was so thrilled they actually passed the hat, took up a collection for him and his wife, first-class ticket steamboat from Jacksonville, Florida to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At that point, volunteers from the Marion Light Artillery from Fernandina came into the fort. They occupied it for a short time, taking a lot of the heavy guns out and moving them up to Fort Clinch, where they were emplaced in sand batteries to protect Fernandina Beach. The garrison was occupied roughly 15 months by the Confederate Army.
Black and white photographs of the fort and its occupants.
You had units like 2nd Florida Company H were mustered into Confederate service there in the courtyard, and also a local unit, Company B, the St. Augustine Independent Blues. The 3rd Florida Infantry was mustered into service. Both these units, coming from the St. Augustine area, would see horrific casualties during the war.
An illustration of a battle. 2 soldiers on horseback engage. One holds a sword, the other shoots him with a pistol.
The mayor of St. Augustine surrendered the town after the Confederates had evacuated the fort because Confederates decided the fort was not worth anything. St. Augustine was going to be a backwater of the war, and they pulled out. It wasn't worth fighting for. In fact, a little-known general at this time, named Robert E. Lee, ordered the evacuation of a lot of the coastal fortifications.
A portrait of Robert E. Lee.
When the Confederates left, the Union Navy came in the next day, occupied the fort. And then you'd find a line of regiments from New England would come in. During the war, the elements of the 33rd United States Colored Troops, a regiment of the Union Army, recruited some of the local blacks here to serve in their ranks, where they accomplished a great deal and gained a reputation for being a solid, well-disciplined regiment.
An illustration of the 33rd Regiment, a photograph of a single soldier in uniform with his rifle.
The Union soldiers enjoyed the garrison life. They socialized with the people. A lot of them got along with a lot of hidden loyalists who were still in the city of St. Augustine. 2 years later on, afraid of Confederate activity, the commander of Fort Marion issued an order that all folks who had family in the Confederate Army must leave the environs of St. Augustine or swear allegiance to the Union. A large majority of the folks decided to leave. They would not betray their relatives, and they left. And they were escorted outside the city limits of St. Augustine into other places in Florida. The fort stayed in Union hands for the rest of the war, and it passed a pretty quiet time. In 1865, the war basically ended with the surrender of Robert E. Lee at Appomattox, Virginia.
A flyer reads, "Surrender of General Lee. The year of Jubilee has come. Let all the people rejoice. 200 guns will be fired on the Campus Martius at 3 o'clock today, April 10, to celebrate the victories of our armies. Every man, woman, and child is hereby ordered to be on hand, prepared to sing and rejoice. The crowd are expected to join in singing patriotic songs. All places of business must be closed at 2 o'clock. Hurrah for Grant and his noble army, by order of the people."
Florida would enter the really rough stage of Reconstruction back into the Union.
For more information, visit facebook.com/CastilloNPS, www.nps.gov/CASA, National Park Service logo, St. Johns County Tourist Development Council logo, culture around every corner, St. Augustine and Ponte Vedra, culture around every corner logo, a service of St. John's Cultural Center.